Hi guys, I am Glenyce Hughes, the radio show host for Living in the Magic of Possibilities on Voice America, the Empowerment Channel. And you can check out this week's radio show. The link is in the box below. And of course, I've got a few years actually of archives on my page, so do check those out also. So today's show, the radio show this week, was the time I almost divorced hubby. And this TV show is the tool to ensure you're always happy in your relationship. And you might think that that sounds impossible. However, there is a tool that most people refuse to use. And if you did, you really would create and choose that happiness all the time. It's one that I still don't always use, and I use it a lot more than I used to. It's a tool from Access Consciousness, and basically it's the willingness to be wrong. So most of us have spent our life believing we're wrong and trying to prove that we're right. So when we have a relationship, whether you're married, whether it's a friendship, whether it's parental, whatever it might be, there's often an element of trying to prove how right you are. The tool is to allow yourself to be wrong. And it's not to be wrong. It's not to judge yourself as wrong. It's the willingness to say that you're wrong. Because what occurs in every relationship, it doesn't matter which type it is, but every relationship, is that when one of the people in that relationship is upset or frustrated or angry or doesn't feel listened to or all of those things, what they do is they put up their barriers and their walls. And then normally what we do, if the other person is the one who's choosing that, what we do is we then match it and we put up our walls and put up our barriers. And so that's how fights start, because they come in with their barriers up and we automatically match those barriers, and it creates more. And it basically is just energy off of, you're wrong and I'm right. No, you're wrong and I'm right. No, you're in. You get it. You've probably been there. I know I sure have. And the tool really is the willingness to be wrong, the willingness to say, wow, I am so sorry. I was wrong. Not that you were wrong. This is the manipulation. This is the tool. It's to say that you are, so that that other person can feel heard and they drop their barriers. And in that moment that they drop their barriers, you're both present. And that's when the magic occurs. That's when whatever change is required is possible. Because if you're stuck in, no, I'm right and you're wrong, no, you're on and on and on, you'll never ever be able to have the awareness of what's really going on and what's really going to take to change it. So the best example I have of this was probably 4 years ago. I was getting ready, rushing around the house, getting ready to go out to teach a class, and I'm not the best at getting things done around the house. Like, it's been so great this last year that hubby's retired and has taken over everything. I really just get up and look pretty and, travel the world and have a lot of fun, and he does everything else, and I'm so, so grateful for that. But back then, the house stuff was for me to do. And what had occurred was we'd done a whole bunch of renovations, and kind of the last piece of those renovations was the backsplash in our kitchen. And as I'm rushing around trying to get out of the house on time, he turned to me and he said, "Sure would be nice if we could get this finished." And you can about imagine that my barriers went whoop straight up. I was so ready to fight him and defend myself and rah, rah, rah. And then I remembered this tool. So in the moment that my barriers went up, in the moment that I realized what I could choose and what else I could choose, I opted to choose for what was going to create more, and I dropped my barriers. I expanded out energetically, and I just looked at him and I said, honey, I am so sorry. I don't know how you put up with me. And I said it without barriers. I said it without sarcasm. I said it really from the space of like, I don't know. Him and I are so different in those ways, like getting stuff done around the house and not having piles of junk all over. We're in Australia right now with my beautiful background. And in our house, I've noticed I have 3 places where I have my stuff pile up. And he says nothing, because if it was everywhere, he would say something. But it's in 3 piles in different places in the house. And it's just comical to me. I don't make myself wrong for it. That's how I am. And he is the exact opposite of that. He has a spot for everything. Woo! Oh my God. So he is the exact opposite. He has a spot for everything. So his stuff, he walks in, everything goes in its place. It's just different. He's not right, I'm not wrong. He's not wrong, I'm not right. It's just different. And so in the moment when I said to him, I don't know how you put up with me, what that did was invited him to that space of really, kind of what else is possible, and also put his barriers down. So he didn't have his barriers up, I didn't have my barriers up. And what was so cool, what occurred was he went into the defense of me. And it still is astonishing to me, but he said basically, I know you're busy. I know you've got lots on the go. I know this takes time. I know, all the things that I would have said with my barriers up that I didn't have to say because I put my barriers down. And then he was willing to take that role on for me, which really, I'm not wrong in not getting the backsplash done, and he's not right in wanting it done, and it's done now, just so you know. It still took quite a while after that, I'll be honest. But it's the willingness to say, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. What can I do for the damage that I did? What can I do for the damage I created? And it's not because you're wrong. You're saying it so that you can create more in the planet. You're saying it so that you can create the space and you can then be the change for what might actually occur. Because I could have done what I always did in that situation and went to defense of me and went to, well, how dare you? And I'm busy, and all of that. And that would have never created what it created when I said, wow, I don't know how you put up with me. And honestly, I don't know how I put up with him. But it wasn't about that. It's about really just acknowledging what is the person asking for? Really, he just wanted to be heard. And I can acknowledge that, hey, I get that him waiting for years for me to choose backsplash is probably really frustrating. And so it's the willingness to be wrong and the willingness to manipulate with that and not buy it as true and real, not judge yourself. Please, I keep saying that because I really would like you to be aware of that. We've been wrong or felt wrong most of our life, so it's not about that, but it's about using it to your advantage. And so when your boss comes in and they're raw about something and you should have done this, you can be like, wow, I am so sorry, you're so right. It was interesting, last week I went for a hair appointment here in Australia, a place I'd never been to, and a lovely place. And I had emailed them to make the appointment because Skype wasn't working. And so when she emailed back, I went off the address at the bottom of her email. So we went somewhere that there was actually no hair salon. It's fine. Hubby and I are on the same page about going places early, so we still arrived on time. And I wanted to mention that to them just so that they were aware, because in their move, they hadn't realized, obviously, that the address hadn't changed at the bottom. And so, the gal was doing my hair, and we ended up talking about it, and I just said, oh, just so you know, the old address is on this email. And so she just kind of yelled over at the other gal and who was the boss and who was running the place. And she just said, oh, just so you know, sorry, guys, I have to keep pushing these glasses up. She said, just so you know, the email is wrong. And the gal's defense, like, she came kind of marching over and like just looking at me and saying, well, I'm sorry, but it's really busy and hairdressers don't have time to sit at the computer and do what they're, and it was just like, holy, it was so interesting to me how much defense she had in her universe. And I in no way was delivering it from it was wrong. We were still on time. Everything was still okay. It was just for their information. But that's often how we react. If we even have the energy that somebody thinks we're wrong or we haven't done something quite right, we go straight into that push energy and that defense energy. And I just, as she's doing that, I just dropped my barriers and just smiled and nodded and kind of let her have her place, because it literally wasn't relevant to me. It was astonishing how wrong she was defending herself about, and instead of just going, wow, thanks for letting me know, interesting choice. But it's really looking at it from that place of, when you go to that defense, and I've asked my body, I said, hey, body, let me know when I go to defense, so in that moment I can change it. And it really feels for me like when I go to defend something, I really feel constricted and ick, and I feel it like right away. And I get that that's because I've asked my body to let me know what that is. And so I'm aware of it. So in that moment that I'm aware of it, I just in my mind drop the barriers. And that might sound a bit strange, like dropping the barriers. What the heck is that? I imagine it like walls around me, and I imagine just dropping them. They're just crumbling to the ground so that I can be totally present and totally aware of what's really going on. And if you don't have your barriers up, usually people can't hold on to their barriers. So it's another huge contribution to the world. The moment you feel your barriers go up, no matter what the situation, just to let them crumble, Be willing to be there if the person's mad at you or upset at you, or, the hairdresser's defending she hasn't got all the stuff done in the move. Just let them be that, and not make them wrong and not make them right. Just be the space for it to change. And really, you guys, if you're willing to be wrong in your relationship, you honestly will create more happiness than you've never imagined possible. And it also really starting to rain here. It also really kind of messes with people's minds. So if you and whoever it is, your spouse or your boss or whoever, are used to butting heads, you'll really change their reality by stopping and choosing something different. So, how does it get any better than that? Awesome. Well, I am going to head out of this rain. And yes, I am made of sugar, so it's better for me to go now than to just dissolve right here. But how beautiful is that waterfall? This is probably the last video I will do from Australia. Maybe not, but possibly. We've only got a few more days here, and I'm just so, so grateful. So thank you for tuning into this week's show. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure, if you haven't already, if you've got a business, go onto my webpage, glenyce.net, and subscribe for the 3 magic tricks to triple your business. Those are 3 videos that I send out. So yay, how does it get any better? And I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye.